Cataclysm is currently one of the most popular mods for Minecraft and is featured in many mod packs. This video will cover how to find each of the 6 bosses at the time of this video, tips for defeating them, and the loot you can obtain. Let's start with the Ancient Remnant, which is the newest addition to the Cataclysm mod at the time of this video. You'll want to find the cursed pyramid where it lives, which can be located in the desert and is a vast structure. The easiest way to find it is to craft the Eye of Desert, which can then be released with it pointing to the nearest cursed pyramid. Upon approaching the cursed pyramid, you'll see that it's filled with kobolten, which are small skeletal creatures that will attack on sight. They're pretty weak but can remove your main hand and offhand items, throwing them to the ground. This effect can be countered by wearing sticky gloves, which have a crafting recipe. Inside the cursed pyramid is dangerous too, as it's filled with traps that might set you on fire or cause you to fall into a deathly pit. There are a few floors of the pyramid to work through before reaching the vertical chamber that will lead you to the Ancient Remnant. But make sure to explore, as quite a few chests contain valuable loot. The cursed pyramid is very maze-like, and it's extremely easy to get lost. The Ancient Remnant is a large skeletal dinosaur that needs to be activated using the Necklace of the Desert. To obtain this item, craft a brush from a feather, copper ingot, and stick. Then use it on suspicious sand within the cursed pyramid. After a bit of searching, you should find and dig up the Necklace of the Desert. During the fight with the Ancient Remnant, there are multiple attacks that you need to look out for. Sometimes the Ancient Remnant might summon tornadoes, which will make it difficult to see through the sandstorm, and they hit you with an obnoxious debuff that causes your movement to be inverted. If you see the Ancient Remnant turn around and raise its tail, then you might want to run, as it's about to do a tail smash attack, which can quite easily kill you. The Ancient Remnant might do this attack before doing the shockwave, where if you don't jump over it, you'll be sucked in towards the boss. The Ancient Remnant is immune to arrows, so you'll want to focus mostly on melee attacks. Other attacks to look out for include falling sand, which is relatively easy to dodge, the Ancient Remnant's charge attack, where it will rush you, and a tail swipe attack. There are 2 items dropped, including the sandstorm in a bottle, which will allow you to summon your own tornado and float into the air. There is also the Remnant's skull, which will summon your own miniature Ancient Remnant as a pet, called the Modern Remnant. When interacting with it while holding a brush, it will become tamed and will fight alongside you. Another location in the overworld is the Ancient Factory, which is deep underground. To find it, you'll want to craft the Eye of Mech from some iron ingots, redstone blocks, and an Eye of Ender. This will allow you to locate the structure and dig down toward it. There is an entrance to the Ancient Factory, though you might not go through it, as you'll likely be digging your way in from a random direction. The Ancient Factory is filled with hostile creatures, with the smaller ones being the Watchers, who are quick to kill and drop iron ingots and redstone dust. Another larger enemy is the Prowler, and this is a mini-boss that will wake up as you get close. It has 150 health and 10 armor points. Mostly, the Prowler will fire homing missiles at you that will deal tiny amounts of damage but also hit you with a wither effect. There's also a melee attack it will rarely do, and the Prowler also drops iron ingots and redstone dust. Generally, the Prowler is easy to defeat and shouldn't be much of a threat. At the back of the Ancient Factory is the Harbinger, which must be activated using a Nether Star. It's a brutal fight, as the Harbinger has almost 400 health and fights with range, as it can fire lasers, rockets, and missiles at players. You'll definitely want a shield and some fire resistance for this fight, as well as regeneration items. There are 2 phases to this fight. During the first phase, you can use a bow and arrows to deal damage from afar, which will help you drop its health quickly. Upon reaching half health, the Harbinger will be shielded and will have slow health regeneration and be immune to arrow attacks, so you'll want to switch back to your sword. This fight isn't too difficult if you have fire resistance and enchanted equipment. The most damaging attack tends to be the laser attack, but you can hear this coming on and prepare to dodge it. Scattered around the room are EMPs, which might be quite difficult to spot. These can be charged up by the Harbinger's laser beam attack if you position yourself right. Once charged, you can pull the lever to activate it and it will release a shockwave. If this hits the Harbinger, it can incapacitate it for a few seconds, allowing you to get some free damage and hits. During the fight, expect most of the arena to become destroyed, so it could be a good idea to bring building blocks too. Many Harbinger attacks will hit you with the Wither effect, but this is easily manageable. Mostly, you'll try to tank the boss's attacks and brute force your way through its health bar with a sword. After defeating the Harbinger, it will drop a Witherite block, which can be turned into 9 Witherite ingots. The first weapon that can be crafted from Witherite is the Meat Shredder. It allows you to damage entities in front of you, similar to the weapon held by the Prowler. Next, there's the Wither Assault Shoulder Weapon, a powerful missile launcher. It will shoot Wither missiles when holding the right mouse button, but if you sneak, they'll be turned into howitzers. Finally, there's the Gatling gun, which can quickly decimate enemies' health. It will fire rapidly and even set blocks on fire. And it only costs a single redstone dust to recharge. Witherate is also required to craft the mechanical fusion anvil, which I'll talk a bit about later. The final thing worth mentioning is that there is a secret room in the ancient factory with some loot. To open it, find these minecarts, climb up, and press the button to activate them. They'll move around the factory towards the Harbinger, but there's a small chance they'll get stuck. Once they land on the activator rails, a small door will open to the right of the Harbinger, but you can also just dig your way through instead. The final location currently implemented into the overworld is the Sunken City, which can be found within Minecraft's oceans. You can start looking for it by crafting the Eye of Abyss, which can be created by surrounding an Eye of Ender with 4 obsidian and 4 crying obsidian. Alongside the Leviathan, other hostile creatures can be found within the Sunken City, like deeplings, which can spawn as brutes, anglers, and priests. There's also the Coralsis, which is a mini-boss, and you will need to slay quite a few of these to get some items you'll need at a later point, such as the Athame. Also in the Sunken City is the Altar of Amethyst. In the lush caves, you can find amethyst crabs spawning, which will drop their meat. When these are placed on the altar, they'll become blessed and will give you immunity to the Leviathan's darkness, abyssal fear, and abyssal burn effects. You'll definitely want a few of these items during the fight. With the boss fight being found underwater, you'll also want to bring other items, such as potions of night vision and potions of water breathing. At the bottom of the large pool is the Altar of the Abyss, which needs to be given an abyssal sacrifice, which can be crafted from iron, gold, diamonds, emeralds, amethyst, a nautilus shell, crystallized coral, and an athame. There are 2 phases to the Leviathan, which happens when it reaches half health and has 400 health in total. To have the best chance of beating the Leviathan, bring 2 tridents, one equipped with loyalty and impaling and the other with riptide, which will help you quickly escape some of the Leviathan's attacks. The Depth Strider enchantment applied to boots can also help with movement speed underwater. The Leviathan has a lot of dangerous attacks to look out for, some of which can be countered using the blessed amethyst crab meat. One of the most devastating is when the Leviathan opens a portal, which will suck the player in as well as nearby objects. You'll need to prepare for this attack and use your Riptide enchantment to escape. The arena can also be filled with mines, which explode when you get too close, and homing orbs, which will follow and damage you. Sometimes the Leviathan will make a Godzilla-like sound where it's charging up, which means it's about to do a deadly laser attack, which you need to try and dodge, again using Riptide. Portals can also open near the ground, which will cause an Abyssal Blast laser attack. One of the hardest attacks to dodge is when the Leviathan will grapple you with its tongue, sucking you towards it quickly. There's not much that can be done to counter this if it hits you. Just be ready to attack the Leviathan a few times with a melee attack until you can break free and maybe consume a golden apple to fight off the damage. Loyalty and impaling both help increase damage output from a distance, while returning the trident to you after firing it. The Leviathan drops 2 items, with the first being Tidal Claws. Holding down the right mouse button will have them act as a grappling hook, allowing you to quickly move around, whereas the left-click ability summons a tentacle that will latch onto nearby enemies, even moving through them onto others. The other item is the Abyssal Egg, which can be placed down to hatch the baby Leviathan after around 10 minutes. You'll want to enclose it in a fence and feed it tropical fish to tame the baby Leviathan once it's hatched. The tame baby Leviathan will fight alongside you, even having its own laser-like attacks, making it a formidable companion. 2 dungeons can be found in the Nether, the first of which is the Soul Blacksmith. To find it, craft the Eye of Monstrous using an Eye of Ender, buckets of lava, netherite scrap, and blackstone. You don't have to worry about these burning in lava, though they might still be challenging to retrieve. There are some valuable blocks around the Soul Blacksmith like anvils, cauldrons, blast furnaces, and smithing tables. At the back of the arena is the Netherite Monstrosity, a large boss with 500 health points. Unlike the other bosses, an activator isn't required to bring the Netherite Monstrosity to life, as it will simply wake up when you get close. Out of all the bosses, the Netherite Monstrosity is probably one of the easiest to defeat, as there are no crazy mechanics or attacks to deal with. You'll mostly just want to be able to survive being in lava and sustain health regeneration. This can mainly be obtained by consuming an enchanted golden apple, but potions work too. For most attacks, the Netherite Monstrosity will throw fiery balls at you, summoning a pool of lava under your feet, so you'll want to bring plenty of fire resistance. If you get close to the Netherite Monstrosity, then it might do a strong melee attack, which can knock you up in the air, dealing quite a bit of damage. You're able to attack the Netherite Monstrosity using a bow and arrows, As long as you aren't too far away, and ender pearls can be used to teleport around the arena to dodge lethal attacks. You can also take advantage of the surrounding area or build structures to stand on, which will make it hard for the Netherite Monstrosity to reach you, and you can then cheese the fight with your bow, although lava attacks might still hit. Generally, the fight should be quite easy, and 2 items are dropped. The first is the Infernal Forge, a hammer-like weapon. When right-clicking a block, it will do damage in an area and knock enemies up, with it having a short cooldown. It can also be used as a pickaxe, being able to mine even obsidian. It also drops the Monstrous Horn, which is a crafting ingredient. When combined with a smithing template and netherite helmet, it creates the Monstrous Helmet. Wearing this helmet will knock enemies back when your health drops below half, while also giving defense, knockback resistance, and health regeneration. Also found within the Nether is Ignis, who can be found in the Burning Arena and is much more complicated than the Netherite Monstrosity. To find the Burning Arena, craft the Eye of Flame using the recipe shown on screen and release it in the Nether. I find Ignis to be the hardest boss within Cataclysm, and I don't recommend trying it until you have endgame gear. Before being able to fight Ignis, you'll need to head downstairs, where you will find 2 ignited revenants. These creatures look similar to the Blaze, but they're much more dangerous, with them having 80 health each. They will attack using their Ashen Breath and Bone Storm attacks, which can blind you, and they'll block your attacks using their shields. Ignited Revenants drop Burning Ashes, which are required to summon Ignis at the altar back on the main floor. During the first phase, Ignis will primarily attempt to get as close as possible while using his sword to hurt you. If Ignis gets close enough, he'll impale you with the sword, dealing high amounts of damage. For that reason, it's a good idea to bring ender pearls and try to keep your distance at all times, mostly by running around the arena. As Ignis traverses the arena as well, it will become destroyed with lava pools being exposed everywhere. It's difficult to find opportunities to damage Ignis, as his shield will block a lot of attacks, and if Ignis hurts you, he actually gains health as his sword gives him life steal. The most efficient and easiest way to defeat Ignis is by using the Void Core, which the Ender Golem drops within the next dungeon I'll discuss. The Void Core will summon void runes in a straight line, which deals reasonable amounts of damage, and they can easily be used each time he lands. If you're quick enough, you can also use the Wither Assault shoulder weapon obtained from the Harbinger, which can deal decent amounts of damage over time when used in howitzer mode. Ignis sometimes fires explosive balls at you, which can be dodged. The pink one can be hit, similar to a gassed fireball, which can be targeted at Ignis and deals moderate damage. By firing these back at Ignis, you can break his shield, opening him up to more ranged attacks. When Ignis reaches the next phase, he'll turn blue. This part of the fight is mostly the same, except Ignis attacks will happen faster. As a reward for defeating Ignis, you'll receive 3 Ignitium ingots. The first item these can be used to create is the Incinerator. It has a Flame Strike ability, where after a few seconds of charging, you can summon a line of damaging flames, or it can create the Bulwark on the flame instead. It's a shield that can be used to charge at enemies, with them taking more damage if they hit a wall. Ignitium can also be combined with Netherite to create Ignitium armor. Each piece has a unique ability, allowing you to see under lava, walk on the surface of lava, and even equip an Elytra to the chestplate. The final dungeon included with the Cataclysm at the time of this video is the Ruined Citadel, which can be found in the end. You'll want to craft the Void Eye using some end-related blocks such as purpur, shulker shells, and endstone to find it. The structure itself is quite maze-like, with it consisting of multiple floors, and small hostile creatures called Endermaptera can be found roaming the Ruined Citadel. The first creature that can be found is the Ender Golem, and it has 150 health. Multiple of these can be found in the Ruined Citadel, and they'll wake up when you get close. The easiest way to beat the Ender Golem is to brute force it with melee attacks, and make sure you have high-level equipment. Sometimes the Ender Golem will use Void Rune attacks, which can be dodged. After defeating the Ender Golem, it will drop a Void Core, which allows you to summon your own Void Runes in a straight line. Dig down a level, and you'll find another Ender Golem on the floor below that needs to be defeated, or just kill this one instead. Digging under the spawn of this Ender Golem will take you to the boss room, where you can find and fight the Ender Guardian. The Ender Guardian is much larger than the Ender Golem, with it also having 333 health, though it's still one of the easier bosses in Cataclysm as there aren't a lot of mechanics. Mostly, the Ender Guardian will teleport around the arena or quickly charge at you, dealing high amounts of damage. Stay away from the Guardian when it summons Void Runes, and try to keep your health regenerating either through potions or golden apples. As the fight with the Ender Guardian progresses, you will fall to a different floor of the arena. The Ender Guardian's helmet will also fall off, revealing it to be a shulker. You can deal consistent damage using the Void Core and the Infernal Forge. After the second phase, the Ender Guardian will be able to take damage from a bow and arrows too, which will massively increase damage output. Keep some Ender Pearls on you to teleport away from the Guardian, and you should easily win this fight. As a reward, you'll receive Gauntlet of Guard, which is a melee weapon with 11 attack damage. When using it, you can hold down the right mouse button to pull nearby entities towards you. With all the bosses covered, it's time to discuss the Mechanical Fusion Anvil. Crafting it requires 6 Witherite ingots, which can be obtained by slaying the Harbinger within the Ancient Factory. Items from the Cataclysm mod can be combined in the Mechanical Infusion Anvil, which will empower them and give them new abilities. Firstly, Gauntlet of the Guard can be combined with Bulwark of the Flame to create the Gauntlet of Bulwark. When charged, it will inflict blazing brand onto nearby enemies and push them back before charging forward and inflicting further damage. The Infernal Forge and Void Core can be combined to create the Void Forge. Right-clicking will cause it to summon void runes in a large fan shape, and it can still be used as a pickaxe. The Void Core can also be merged with the Wither Assault Shoulder Weapon to create the Void Assault Shoulder Weapon. When fired, it will shoot void howitzers at nearby targets. That hopefully covers everything you need to know about Cataclysm. It's likely more dungeons and bosses will be added in future updates. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing for more.